TikTok compilation that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
He is Lil Uzi, one of the richest artists in America. He can no longer sleep, he is chased by demons. What we call money is no longer a problem. Lil Wayne hasn't amassed a war chest comparable to that of Lil Uzi, even less 6x9 INA. He paid for everything, and I mean everything. Even Elon Musk trembles before him.
What?
Because he did one thing that Musk and his NASA team did. Couldn't do it. While you are trying to pay half a lot, he has offered himself a planet after you, because in the star that I am willing to let you know was not born with a golden spoon in his mouth. Uziver Island, its real name, Simmer Woods, born July 31st, 1995 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States, is an American rapper and singer-songwriter. Lil Uzi Vert is noted for his mixes. With a diamond placed on his forehead, Lil Uzi paid for a lot of things, beautiful houses, beautiful cars, to the point of paying for a planet, thus becoming the first person to afford a planet. However, he can no longer sleep because he has paid for everything and everything. He declares, "I am exhausted from life. I no longer have feelings. I can't sleep anymore because all my plans have come true." And what do you think of this? Your answer in the comments.
What does it pay a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? And the reason why he cannot sleep is because he bought everything, including the sleep. You die.
Does nobody want to buy? Not even for $1? This house is called Granite Roma and is the biggest log cabin in the world. It has a total area of over 26 square feet with 26 bedrooms, a private dock, and a hot tub with scenic views. Surprisingly, nobody is willing. Relocation fees to move it. Quite a headache, isn't it?
I'll buy it for $1. Send in the paperwork.
Okay, ready? Right here, on the border between France and Switzerland, is the biggest science experiment ever built. It's this huge tunnel, over 100 meters underground and 27 kilometers long, running under nearby homes and businesses and farms. And inside that tunnel, scientists put a long blue tube, big enough to crawl through. And inside that tube, they put two pipes that they keep colder and emptier than outer space. And down those pipes, they fire particles smaller than atoms, in opposite directions, pushing them faster and faster and faster until, when they're almost at the speed of light, they smash together, sending subatomic debris flying off into this massive detector. This underground particle smasher took thousands of people from over 100 different countries, $5 billion, and over 30 years to plan and build. My question was, why? Why do this? Why spend so much money and time to smash particles together in an underground tunnel? And now, why do so many people say that what we really need to do is build a bigger one?
Future Circular Collider, new particle accelerator,
building a bigger one
in Geneva, Switzerland, more than 3 times its size and twice as deep.
I'm going all the way to Switzerland, to the particle smasher itself, to understand what's really going on here, and to go on a journey that will forever change how I see myself and the world around me.
-1, please, yeah.
I'm in an elevator on my way down to the giant particle smasher, more scientifically known as the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC. It's inside the biggest and most famous physics lab in the world, CERN. I can't believe I'm here. Getting to visit here is a really big deal. Thousands of scientists from all around the world gather here to do cutting-edge research about how the universe works. Beyond that yellow door is one of the places where particles actually collide. Specifically, this one, the Atlas detector.
Oh my God. It's beautiful.
thing is huge. To give you a sense of scale, just look at it compared to a person.
Look how small they are. Those are people compared to this enormous machine. How did you put this in here?
So we can see from down here that there is a shaft above us. If people have the hobby to build a ship in a bottle, it's exactly the same way of constructing. You have to lower it in and then construct it in place.
I'm so amazed that people built this.
This giant underground detector is where those particles finally collide after being sped up close to the speed of light around that 27-kilometer track.
Where is the collision happening?
So the collision happens over here. So the detector is symmetrical around the collision point, and so we're at one end of it.
The detector is big, but the actual collider part is very small.
What you can see in the center is the Large Hadron Collider, so you can really see how tiny the beam pipe is.
Each pipe is about the size of your two hands, like this, or about the diameter of an orange, with thousands of magnets running along it that force the particles within that pipe into a space the width of a human hair.
I just accidentally pulled out one of my hairs in order to demonstrate this.
How the universe works, or trying to open or create something. And have you watched the movie Flash? This is how Barry Allen got powers when the particle accelerator exploded at Star Labs.
This year's set up. Got rid of the beer fridge.
It's not legal. Why is it every single time?
Evie? Come on, man.
Okay.
If you take a TV camping, you're missing the whole point of camping. Explore the outside.
I want to publicly apologize to KSI because what I'm about to do, he might hate me for. And that's because Messi has just sent me his new hydration drink. Okay, fine. The people at Mus. And because they're not in stores yet, I'm going to be trying each flavor side by side with Prime to see which one is actually superior. Limited edition drop 1. A letter handwritten by Leo Messi to me. Dear friend. And then we got the 4 flavors, which as you can see have direct comparisons. And then underneath we got a Mus cap and a Mus t-shirt. So a couple of interesting things before I taste them. The Mus bottle is actually exactly the same as the Prime American bottle. English bottles, little different. Mus has 10 calories, Prime has 25. Mus went for a natural sweetener called stevia, while Prime went with an artificial sweetener called sucralose. Prime has more total electrolytes to aid with hydration, but Mus has significantly more of the most important electrolyte you lose when sweating, sodium. Prime has 250 mgs of BCAAs, while Mus has none. The rest is very similar, so let's get tasted. Okay, I'm gonna start with my personal favorite flavor of Prime. Man, that's good. Ooh! Okay, first impressions, it's definitely not as powerful as Prime, but that's kind of nice. If I were to choose, I've gotta go with this one, for this flavor at least. Lemon lime, decent. This is a winner by far, by quite a distance. Orange adore. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of orange flavored drinks. Damn, that one's close. I'm sorry, I have to give it to Mus. And then for potentially what you would call the most popular Prime flavor. Okay. Oh, that's too hard. I'm sorry, I can't actually choose between these two. I'm going with just so slightly I'm going with Prime. But then again, like overall, if I was actually really thirsty and I was exercising, I would take Mus. So which one is superior? Well, I would say that on average, Mus's flavors are better, but then my 2 favorite flavors would be Prime. So for anyone that thinks Prime is just too powerful and too sweet, you're gonna like Mus. For anyone that wants a bit of chutzpah in their drink, you're probably gonna want a bit of Prime. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Have you tried it yet? And if you have, which one do you prefer? In the comments, Prime or Mus Plus?
The difference is that Mus seems like it might actually offer, some sort of benefit for hydration.
Songs are spells. That's what chants means. If you look in French, the word chants, it means song, but it also means a spell. The things that we say, that's why they say you gotta be careful. Life and death resides in the tongue. Everything that we say holds value, it holds weight, and it has the ability to trigger things. So imagine when you take that and you put that to melody and you put that to song that holds you and rocks you. Whatever is embedded in that sound is now embedded in you. It's been proven scientifically. The human mind cannot refuse any information transferred through sound. Now think about all of these records that when you listen to them, you heard them a million times, whether you liked it or not. Matter of fact, how many songs did you not like that you ended up liking later? Man, I hated this song. I like this song. They kept playing it. You had no choice but to like it. Programming.
Just like children's songs and nursery rhymes, a lot of those are dark. Look up what the Ring Around the Rosie is about, and you happily sing that to your kids.
100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and 20.
You want me to call the page right now?
Please do, thank you.
Voucher, or
Yeah.
you gonna use it?
Does he have to pay taxes on this money? Let me know in the comment, please.
I think depression is a luxury. Wow. Because where I'm from, you can't afford to be depressed. You gotta pay the bill. Right. So you gotta go to work. You gotta get up. You gotta go do what you gotta do. They got people right now that's at work don't feel like being it. But they got responsibilities, so they're uncomfortable while they're working, while they're doing what they gotta do.
What he's saying is deep. He's not saying some people don't get depressed. They do, but they cannot afford to let it get to them because it's not an option. But when you're in Christ and you have the Holy Spirit in you, you feel peace in the middle of storm. You know God got you.
Just did a deep dive on this 16-year-old who was running from the FBI for 3 years. This is Colton Harris Moore. He's also known as the Barefoot Bandit. Colton didn't have the best childhood. I'm not going to get into details, but one reoccurring issue he had with his mom, she would just be careless when it came to buying food. So there would be no food in the house and he'd be like, yo, are you going to get some food? And she'd be like, so eventually, after living with his mom and barely having any access to food, he was like, okay, I'm just gonna run away and steal some food because I'm really hungry. So he leaves his house and he starts living in the woods, but he starts breaking into people's houses, people that reside in the town. So everyone's like, have you heard about this kid? He's breaking into our home so he can eat our food. And then some people are like, just let him be. Maybe he wants some fruit snacks. Are we really one to judge him for that? One day, the police are looking for Colton because they're always looking for Colton. In the forest, they come across this tent and it has all this jewelry, these laptops, money. They scope out the forest. Colton is nowhere to be found. And the next day, a handwritten letter is given to his mom or left on his mom's porch. It said something like, police want to play games, this is war. Colton was repping his colors. He was about it. Come to find out, when the police found that tent of his, he was in the forest lurking, watching their every move, and they still didn't find him. At this point, everyone still thinks Colton is just a kid who wants some food. Then he starts stealing airplanes. And people were wondering, they were like,
What?
how does he even know how to fly a plane? He's 16. You watching this, you might be asking the same question. He said he learned from video games. He refused to use planes that he never used in a video game, which is the logic. It's almost there, but it's not, you know? An anonymous donor came forward and they were like, Colton, if you turn yourself in, I will personally give you $10,000. Just come on, buddy, turn yourself in. $10,000, but you have to reply in like 5 days. This offer isn't on the table forever. They waited 5 days, no answer. Crickets. Colton said, it ain't about the paper. It's about the game. I love the game. Since Colton is stealing airplanes at this point, he's like, I think the smartest thing for me to do right now is just go off the grid. So he flies his plane to the Bahamas. On one of the days Colton is in the Bahamas, he pulls up to this party on a stolen boat. And he's like, hey,
God.
Did y'all hear about the kid who crashed his plane? They immediately stop their music and they're like, okay, who are you? Are you that one white kid who came over here and is stealing food and stuff? Because we can feed you. And he was like, no, I just need you guys to call the cops on me. I want to be chased. And they were like, we're not going to do that. And he's like, no, call the cops. I'm serious. And they're like, I just opened this bottle. To be honest, I'm not really feeling calling the cops. But then he's like, call the cops. And he speeds off. So then they're like, what a buzzkill. And they call the cops. Eventually, Colton is caught in the Bahamas, but not by the US police, by the Bohemian police. Police broadcast this on TV for like days. They're like, oh, look, US, we had to catch this kid. God damn, you were looking for this kid for 3 years. We looked for him for 8 hours. Found him. Real quick, I wanted to include this note Colton wrote to this animal hospital. Drove by, had some extra cash. Please use this for the care of the animals. Colton Harris Moore, aka the Barefoot Bandit. Pretty cool guy, you know? I'm gonna be honest. Has he really given us a reason to dislike him at this point? Okay, so he stole a plane. Listen, we all do stupid things when we're kids. He committed 67 felonies in 3 different countries, and he stole things like airplanes and boats. Honestly, kind of based when you think about it.
I don't understand how there has not been a movie or series about Colton Harris.
So this Kyle Filipowski story is kind of sad. So Kyle Filipowski was supposed to be a first-round pick in this year's draft. He played at Duke. Everybody wondered, okay, why has he been sliding so much? Then this came out. Kyle Filipowski's girlfriend used to be his babysitter. Okay, weird, but we'll keep it pushing. This is their first photo together that I'm about to show you now. This one right here. So his babysitter graduated from Alabama, the college, in 2018. He just now graduated from college in 2024. That's like a 6 or 7 year age difference. So that means that Kyle Filipowski was well underage when they met each other. So he definitely got groomed. What makes this even worse is later on in life, basically when his family was like, I think that's kind of weird, he cut off his entire family. Draft interviewers were like, think that's weird, we're not gonna draft you. And his girlfriend's a pedophile.
Real dopamine. Sun, ice, sauna, weights, runs, walks, hard work, breath work, meditate, visualize, design, serve, connect, and create. Do real work. You'll never reach your potential if fake dopamine is always within reach.
Workout dopamine is next level. Nah, I think that an art installation. What do you think?
Does nobody want to say it? I'ma say it! The girl that made Not My Problem, aka Layla, is currently going viral and is famous for no reason. She literally said the same 3 words the whole 2 minutes of the song. They're literally just handing success to anybody at this point. Like, don't get me wrong, the song is catchy. I was listening to it. I practically enjoyed it. But what caught me off guard was, I'm like, it's not my problem. Like, I'm listening to it, I'm messing with it, I'm like, okay. And then I'm slowly just like, there's no way she didn't have no lyrics. No way! So you're telling me, to be in the rap industry, to be famous and rich, all I have to do is get on the track and say the same 3 words for 2 minutes straight? Like, underground artists, how do you feel? Like, y'all be going every day just trying to find the right song, writing songs, and you don't have a hit. Versus a girl that made a hit by saying 3 words. Layla, kudos to you. You have made history in the rap industry.
Bro, chill. She was just having fun and blew up with it. And like she said, that's just not my problem.
What did he say happened after he choked her?
He said he was looking for a place to put her body.
Did he find a place where he eventually dumped her body?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you about the situation when he got to the place where he was going to dump her body?
He said that he pulled her out of the car and realized that she was still breathing.
So what did he tell you he did when he realized she's still breathing?
He said he got back in the car and ran her over until she looked like spaghetti.
Oof. I'm not sure how a father could testify against his son in such a graphic manner without being in tears. This just hits different.
I made documentaries about gangster rap.
Yeah.
I made a couple. And one was in...
Well, I wish they were just rapping. Unfortunately, a lot of these men are shooting each other
and
for
killing.
no reason.
Like,
yeah.
It seems like it's the only branch of show business where actually killing someone is not necessarily a career ender.
Rap music?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good call.
Right, because you look at Gucci Mane, he killed someone, they said, yeah, well, it was self-defense.
Yeah.
And no one really minded.
Yeah, well, what's his name? Just
There's not many.
killed someone at a Walmart not long ago. Who was
Alec
that?
Baldwin?
Huh?
Again?
Every week he's shooting somebody. And
He wasn't even shooting a movie.
he just fucking... And I think that's his defense. He's like, I thought we were shooting a movie, you know? Like, come on, that's crazy. I love how he's on trial for this. They hand him a gun.
Yeah.
He shoots it.
Yeah.
And the person who gave it to him, it's just, the whole thing is just bad news. But yeah, somebody just killed somebody at a Walmart and they're getting off. Oh, DaBaby did.
Yeah, DaBaby.
Two most random people in the world to have such good chemistry.
They lost to Japan in American football.
We got beat 41-20. Are you kidding?
We'll be having Jordan Poyer join us. He's a former member of this team. Jonathan Taylor, also formerly on this team.
Mac Jones, Chase Young, Todd Gurley.
We're talking about a pretty good alumni, and then all of a sudden, the first time I see them playing football, they're getting their asses beat by Japan in an American football tournament. We named the game.
Those boys can't be losing like that, man. That's bad ball.
How long did you guys practice leading up to all that?
It was about a week.
So we had no team chemistry. We got to get the boys together a little bit
Japan kids
longer.
been together 7 years, I heard.
Is that right?
Yeah, of course. That's why we heard.
They even know the plays.
I mean, it's ball, yo. Like, go out there and play football. Boys didn't even look like they knew what they were doing out there.
Where Caleb Dodds. Could you fathom if we put together the actual under 20 team with the all-stars around college football right now?
We need Lou Holtz over there.
Japan's been pissing us since 1944, okay? So maybe we had this one coming.
Look at that guy. We got the biggest the field in 79.
I mean, he didn't touch a soul.
Stop showing it, man.
Yeah, breaking news. D-Bone.
Oh, my God.
D-Bone, our new graphic designer, he's a D3 offensive lineman. He was invited to play on Team USA here. Was there not an Alabama offensive lineman that was offered sometime?
This whole deal's getting shut down because USA football scheme. They're sending out letters saying, hey, D-Bone, for the small price of 3 installments of $1,500, you can come and slap that USA on your helmet and go represent America. Sure, we got shitty uniforms and we're going to get beat by 5 touchdowns to whatever country we play, but you got 4,500 extra bucks floating around, come be on Team USA. That's a problem.
I found the GM. It's not good.
No.
Pittsburgh.
No.
This guy's running USA football.
What's your problem with Mr. Leota, Ty?
That's my problem is Randy Walters needs to be the head coach.
Who are these guys?
His hometown's Canada. What?
Jim Phillips lives in the trenches, though.
PJ Jack kind of looks like Vince Young, so I'm okay with that.
PJ spells his name better than any PJ history of PJ. PJ stays no matter what happens.
We got to have a conversation with Myron Bluford because if we're giving up 41 points and you're the DC, that tackling's on you.
Offensive coordinator, too.
Kenny Matsakis?
Matsakis there. What's he doing? He knew that our guys couldn't block. We're on the half-inch line.
So Americans aren't the best in American football? That's wild.
As you can see, this is the room that I did the video in, and here is an officer sitting in there. The only thing different that y'all may notice is there's a chunk of my wall missing from the plumber last night. So the officer told me that there has been no calls to this address before for anything suspicious that would result in this amount of blood. And he also told me that the peroxide I had was 3% and not 6%, and apparently that makes a difference. So after he looked at it, he has questions too. So y'all, this is my real life. This is a house I just bought. None of this was for clout. They are apparently calling some people in to come do some more tests. I guess. I don't know. Everybody that's telling me to move out in this economy, I just dumped all my money into this house. So if it's a schmurder house, if they don't tell me I have to move out, my ass is gonna be here. So there's that. But yeah, none of it was fake. Here's the cop. And I will give y'all what updates I can give when I can, if they tell me I can. Also, my thought process is kind of all over the place. So if I didn't already say this, they are calling in other people to come do some tests. And he told me to tell the plumber not to come back at this moment, to stay out of the room. And he is out in the car making phone calls. So that's where we're at.
How about call the previous owners for questioning?
When NASA can show me an image of the sun, the moon, the earth, and stars all in one photo, I'll be on board. And on top of that, when NASA can provide me a perfectly clear image of a cruise ship on the other side of the earth that is upside down, I will fully 100% wholeheartedly believe that we live on a globe. But until that day comes when that information can be provided by NASA, who has all of these wonderful technology things of, you know, in space, you're never gonna get me to flip what it is that I believe. So
NASA been real quiet since this video.
The mucus literally drowns us. We drown in our own mucus. Remember that little thin layer that I was telling you about that shows up on your teeth? Remember, you have to go to the dentist every year or so and have him to scrape it off with a steel piece. Remember that? Well, don't forget, you swallowed that food. And the same thing it did to your teeth, it did to the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestines, and now you imagine 40 years of that little thin layer, that little tiny thin layer. Imagine that thin layer becomes that thick, only that thick, all over the body. All over the body. Because what happens is every organ gets trapped in that mucus. And that mucus is thick and hard. It gets harder the longer it stays.
I want to try drinking hot water with organic edible baking soda every morning. I heard it's good for your body. What do you think? Let me know in the comment, please.
Is this real crocodile?
Yeah, this is real crocodile.
And so what would the cost be to manufacture a crocodile bag like this?
Manufacturing for this bag depend on the quantity you.
Okay, so what would be the MOQ?
The minimum is 1,000.
At 1,000 pieces, what would be the price point?
For 1,000 piece, I will check the price. Price will be $250.
$250 US dollars?
Yes.
Wow, and so where's the crocodile from? Where do you guys get the leather?
This is from Bangladesh.
From Bangladesh? Out of this whole crocodile, how many bags can you make?
Oh, the whole crocodile,
yeah.
you can make one bag.
Wow.
Just this one is the
bag.
And for the stomach, we make this one. Wallet.
And then what about the other pieces? Is that for the...
Yeah, and for the tail, we make it by the belt.
So you're using all the parts of the crocodile? Nothing goes to waste.
Why?
They sell these bags in Louis Vuitton for like $65,000.
Why do people's breath smell? What does that come from and how can they fix it?
Okay, so halitosis is the polite way of saying you have bad breath. Within the mouth, obviously, oral hygiene does play a huge role. And that's why it says tongue scraping before you go to bed at night is such a good idea. Part of halitosis can be from food that's basically left on the tongue. And if you put your food in the rubbish, right, and you come back and you smell the rubbish, it smells. So it's kind of a similar process. By removing the debris that's sitting on your tongue, you are reducing the number of those bacteria and that food debris that essentially could rot inside of your mouth and create that bad smell. Tongue scraping, flossing. Flossing is a huge part that could lead to halitosis. Again, if you have spaces or if you have pockets within your teeth which could collect food, which the food again goes down its degradation process, which can create, those bad smells. Brushing your teeth, obviously that's huge, and it's important to remove any debris that you have on any three of the surfaces. You'll be surprised how many people don't really know how to brush their teeth.
Yeah, you taught us how to brush our teeth.
I don't know who this guy is, but leading causes are tooth decay, gum disease, stomach issues, and tonsil stones.
You know Magnus Carlsen. Even I've heard of Magnus Carlsen. Magnus is the highest ranked chess player in history. Not right now, not during his career span, in history of chess. This is not an opinion, but a fact. He is literally the greatest of all time because in history, he's like the highest ranked. The chess community said the ability he has to stay calm under stress is insane. Other grandmasters, so in chess, you become a grandmaster. That means you're like a master Shifu. He's apparently a 5-time world chess champion. He has won 16 world championship titles, which is more than almost any other player in the history of chess. He is quite literally the GOAT. When he was 13, he went up against a world champion, like the GOAT of chess. There's so much respect on his name, Kasparov, and incredible man, right? Formerly the best chess player in history before he played against 13-year-old Magnus. Watching this game is crazy. You see this full-grown 40-year-old man struggling on his end of the chessboard. His His face is scrunching up. At one point, he puts his head in both of his hands and he's like trying to rip out his hair. He's about to let out a fucking shark with how much he's focusing. He's breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, 13-year-old Magnus is acting like a 13-year-old. He cannot sit still. He's getting so bored out of his freaking mind. He gets up and starts walking around and looking at everybody else's chessboards and then looking to see if he's still not made a move and then goes back to looking around at other people's chessboards. You know what it's giving? It's giving, I'm gonna go play outside. Can you tell me when you're done? That's what it's giving. That's what it's giving. He ends up landing a draw.
But you cannot simply say Magnus Carlsen is the greatest in history, as there's still a debate between Magnus, Kasparov, and Fischer. The match between Magnus and Kasparov was when Kasparov was out of his prime.
Way up this pitch, I can't move because I'm losing my. I'm like 15 feet above the last piece of protection that I just put in. I'm convinced that I feel my feet slipping off of the rock. I have my hand jammed into the rock, and then you make a fist to prevent it from falling out. And as my world is collapsing on me and I'm just sitting there, I've got full sewing machine leg, just sitting there, just shaking. I hear a voice just over my shoulder. He's like, hey man, just put the piece of pro right there. And I look over and this professional climber is right next to me with no rope in shoes, smoking a cigarette, which is what he was using to point to where I should have placed the next piece of protection. Cool, calm, and collected. And I almost fell off the rock because he scared me so bad. I was so freaked out at what he was doing that I almost fell.
The real question is, how did he light the cigar?
Everybody in Paris is pissed. You know why? Because the mayor and president said that they're gonna clean the river that runs along Paris. I think it's called Seine.
Yeah, the Seine River, yeah.
So to do that though, they need $5 million of the taxpayers' money.
And then the taxpayers don't want to pay for the Olympics.
They don't want to pay. So guess what they're doing? They set up silicone toilets right beside the boardwalk because the president's like, we're gonna get the river so clean. And right before the Olympics, I'm gonna bathe in it. So everybody set up and there's a hashtag that, yo, go in the Seine River right now.
Yo, I'm telling you, France, they know how to protest, bro.
Man, they do it.
S-tier protest, man.
Somebody created an app, right? So if you're not in Paris, to show you all the rivers connecting, so it'll tell you if you take a poo right here on this time, it'll connect and it'll flow to the Seine River.
Bro, ew.
I'm telling you, they do it proper there. Man's on this side is not locked in because in China they're dropping new updates and the Paris people are in the river. Like, mans are not locked.
I really wish there was a world.
These are real photos of women affected by radiation during the radium craze of the early 1900s. If you've never heard of the Radium Girls, you should stick around. This is quite interesting. On April 20th, 1902, Marie and Pierre Curie successfully isolated an element called radium. At the time, radium was thought to have tons of beneficial properties, with doctors promoting the stuff as curative, so it was quickly implemented into a wide range of products. You want radium-infused makeup, jewelry, or health tonics? What about radioactive chocolate or toothpaste? Want to visit a radium spa where you can take a radium water bath?
What?
You could have all of that and more. If you haven't already guessed, radium is quite radioactive, and believe it or not, radium actually had a positive reputation back then. We knew it could kill cancer cells, but we didn't exactly know, or even care for that matter, how it would affect healthy cells. One of the biggest uses of radium was radium-infused paint. The paint could glow in the dark, so it was eventually used in watches and vehicle instrument clusters for the military in World War I. By 1917, the demand for radium dials skyrocketed, and as a result, so did the radium industry. Within a year, there were multiple facilities around the US, including one in Orange, New Jersey, where they specialized in painting instrument cluster dials. Many local women were happy to get a job at this facility as the working conditions were decent, it was well paid, it was considered not dangerous, and it was skillful and respectable work. Their job was to strategically apply radium to parts of the dial stamps they were given to make the dials glow. Precision was required, so workers were instructed to lick the tips of their brushes between each application to keep their brush at a point. Because of the supposed health benefits, these women were under the impression that working with radium was one of the perks of the job. Sometimes, since they basically had free reign of this paint, they would paint their teeth and nails with this stuff to give themselves themselves a subtle glow before going out. But this new trendy substance would eventually decline in popularity. Years after the war was over, these workers were beginning to fall ill. Hundreds of them complained about pain in their teeth and jaw, with many having to be at the dentist seemingly every day, losing teeth at every visit. They were constantly fatigued and in pain, and some women were found to have holes in their jaws. People didn't want to believe radium caused this, so when these ex-radium painters began to die, they would write it off as syphilis. It wasn't until 1925 when people realized the effects radium had on their bodies. Grace Fryer, for example, who was one of the dial painters, had tumors sprouting in her jaw, her spine crumbled, and she was in constant pain. She and 4 other colleagues attempted to sue their employer, but no lawyer would take them seriously at first. That was until around 2 years later in 1928 when their lawsuit was finally filed after over 50 factory workers had already passed due to radium paint poisoning. The huge radium corporations did everything they could to avoid responsibility, even delaying the lawsuit as long as possible, hoping these women would die before it could be resolved. While doing this, they quietly issued workers protective equipment and advised against licking their brushes. On top of all of that, higher-ups and scientists had been using protective equipment while around the radium for years before that. By 1928, the women won their lawsuit, but they were only awarded a fraction of their demand. It basically covered their medical bills, and that's it. Although their story is tragic, they did help tremendously in understanding how radiation affects the human body, and in turn saved countless lives. This was also the first case of any employer forced to take responsibility for the health and safety of their employers, which, partially thanks to the Radium Girls, is something that most workers expect out of their employers today.
The story of Redditor is the saddest. The gentleman's jaw literally fell off and he had to be buried in a lead coffin that still radiates today. And it's been over 100 years.
We are all absolutely screwed. Brilliant. I mean, just do it. Just do it then. I don't care. So as I'm sure you're all very aware, there is a lot of tensions all around the world. I mean, look at the map. It's mental. I mean, from the start of this year, it's just been insane and pretty scary, to be honest. Them saying, oh, we could bring back conscription, but oh no, we're not going to. Then we had them saying we got to practice bunker drills. Like, okay, mate, yeah, I'll just go and roll in the garden. But now what's going on? What's this guy done with his best mate? So last week, of course, the besties met up as Putin travelled over to North Korea to meet up with Kim and have, a little conversation, but turned into flipping carpool karaoke, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, seriously? What? Anyway, these two have become best mates now, and North Korea is now officially backing up Russia and sending troops to Ukraine. Oh, brilliant. So on top of this, there was a meeting apparently last week between Russia and the United States, which reportedly didn't go so well. And now you've got all these countries coming out warning about the potential of it. Now Russia is warning the US over these other things that have happened, so yeah, there's a lot going on. While we're just chilling in the UK with this bloke, obviously. Just, yeah, laughing. And we got the general election this week, so guess we'll see what that brings. But yeah, what a brilliant year.
For there will be wars and rumors of wars, but fear not, as this thing must come to pass. If you know, you know.
Years ago at this restaurant, breakfast for 2 cost 150 lira, but today that's going to cost you almost 1,300 Turkish lira.
Prices are out of control in Turkey, both for locals, but even for tourists too.
A lunch like this will cost about 315 Turkish lira. That's almost $10.
Years ago, my house rent was 3,000. Now it's 14,000. Now it's very high.
90% of the people are just mad about it.
There are a few main reasons that its currency has become so insanely unstable. First were the historically low interest rates. See, when the US hit a 40-year high of inflation, the government raised interest rates. That made it harder and less attractive to borrow cash. And by doing this, you limit the supply and traditionally will slow down inflation. But under President Erdogan's influence, the central bank has frequently cut interest rates despite high inflation. He believes that lower interest rates will stimulate economic growth and reduce inflation. But that stance contradicts conventional economic theory. So this approach, combined with the central bank's governors getting fired multiple times, has led to a lack of confidence in its overall economy. And thus, inflation soared to over 80% in 2022, impacting everyone.
Almost every country in the world are facing same problem. Higher inflation.
You believe that this just happened in front of the whole world? Watch this.
Jesus said, I have come that they may have life and have it in all its fullness. A full life consists of love for each other, forgiveness towards each other, and unity with each other. This is possible when we focus on God, the source of life. God, we ask your blessing over the tournament, the nations represented, the teams, players, and families. May your peace, your protection be upon all. In Jesus' name, amen.
People are waking up and being bold about the fact that Jesus is the truth. If you don't like Jesus content, just keep scrolling. But if you do, follow or subscribe for more.
As the Bible says, the gospel will be preached all over the world. This is one sign that day is coming. Christ is dominating all the world. Don't go anywhere because we still have fire clips after fire clips back to back.
This is ultimately maybe the weirdest object in the universe. It comes from a 248-dimensional group. That is an 8-dimensional lattice called E8 projected into 3 dimensions, which is one of the craziest sort of sphere-packing gadgets. This is ultimately maybe the weirdest object in the universe. It comes from a 248-dimensional group.
Howard trying to figure out how this fits into his BS.
Somebody needs to hear this.
What's that?
There is never a time that I am holding a friendship with somebody that is in any type of witchcraft, occult work, and a little bit of crystals, and into a little bit of horoscopes, into a little bit of yoga, into a lot of bit of angel numbers, into a lot of bit of divination. I'm never doing it. Why? Why am I never doing that? It's because if I consider you my friend, and I think we need to reevaluate what the word friendship means. I think a lot of us don't know what that means, but even in our grown-up age, we tend to not know what it means.
Yes.
When you're talking about a friendship, not an associate, right? Not somebody, I talk to anybody, really, but a friend, you cannot be my friend. Why? Not because I don't love you, not because I don't like you, not because I don't think we're going to be cool, but because spiritually, as a friend, I'm telling you all of my business. As a friend, you have access to me that the outside world doesn't have. As a friend, you call my phone, I'm answering. You have opened up your spirit to another world that is against the spirit that I house, which is the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So automatically the spirit in you is an enemy to the spirit in me, even if I love you. So if I'm your friend, because our love for people will dim our discernment about them, our love for people will help us ignore that you are who you are. You can tell me you're a witch, and my love for you is going to say, but you're nice. You're not bad. I've seen you. They're so nice. They give to the community. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be vigilant about stuff like that. So I want to just encourage everybody on here. There are some of you on here that need to end some friendships, some relationships, because you know what that person is into. And spiritually, whether they know it or not, the assignment in the person that even may love you on the outside, the assignment of the spirit in them is to kill your destiny, is to kill your future. Is to touch your children, even if not physically. Is to get involved with your marriage. Tell me what's going on with your marriage, and you tell them everything. Why? Because you love them and you have not discerned that the yoga that they're in, the horoscopes that they're in, the crystals they're playing around with, the sound bowls they drumming up on, the angel numbers they keep seeing, the things in the real life that the dead people that they love are leaving them, all of those things equal up to there is a familiar spirit, or in other words, a spirit that is so familiar with the bloodline because it's been with them for 400 years, is still talking to them now. You cannot be friends with somebody like that, because in that case, you are sleeping with the enemy.
The day I understood this, I immediately got done, with most friendship and even family relationships.
Fellow Disney stars, are you all in a secret Illuminati-like club?
No.
No.
Is it because you can't tell me if you are?
No.
Is that true, Sam?
Inconclusive. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that laugh. The eyes are the windows of the soul.
Of course, went to witchcraft because I wanted to have a baby girl so badly. So I looked up all these spells. I had a friend who was into witchcraft as well. She gave me this satchel and she said, hang this above your bed and you'll get a baby girl. And I put like an egg under my bed. I did all these crazy rituals and I actually ended up getting pregnant by the grace of God, which I now know. But at the time, I truly thought that I got pregnant from my own doing, but I still wasn't married. So the pressure kind of came on to get married at that point. time went on and, it still kind of wasn't happening fast enough around my timeline. So I was pregnant and everything was going fine until COVID hit. I actually got pregnant right at the start of COVID. I was like, okay, we need to get married, but COVID's going on. What are we going to do? We planned a wedding. I had so much anxiety over this wedding not coming to pass because of COVID that I actually canceled the wedding. We ended up getting married in a park at nighttime. We just had an officiant there to marry us, and it was just kind of like rushed and thrown together and not really what I expected. But then I was like, okay, well, the pressure's on. I have to get my name changed and I have to get my social security, and everything needs to be in line for when I give birth to this baby, or else if my driver's license doesn't match my insurance card, they're not going to cover the birth. I went absolutely crazy. I lost my mind. I was waking up in pools of sweat. I was doing witchcraft spells to try and make things happen quicker. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but this is how I started to lose my mind. I've never had a history of being psychotic or anything like that. I started to actually feel like it wasn't me anymore. I was almost in like a dreamlike state. Like I didn't feel like anything was real. I remember I called my mom one day and I was just like, Mom, I don't want to go to hell for myself. And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, she took me to the emergency room because she didn't know what to make of it either. And they just gave me antidepressants and sent me on my way. I had never been on any sort of medication before this. I called my cousin one day and I said, after I give birth, I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to give my baby to you. Like, you can take care of her. And she was just like, what, Mare? Like, everyone was so concerned about me because they're like, what are you saying? Like, this isn't you. And I went to see a psychiatrist. She just put me on more medication. And one day I actually crashed my car into a snowbank while I was pregnant because this medication was supposed to be taken at night. It was like, puts you to sleep. And that's how high anxiety I was. When I went to meet with the psychiatrist, I shut my phone off because I said they're listening to me. I thought people were following me. It was just completely out of nowhere, and this is how I know it was something demonic in my life, because there was no history of this kind of behavior before in my life. It was just completely out of left field. I was just out of it, and I was still in this dreamlike state, and I would get on these medications and I would call the doctor in a couple of days and be like, you need to put me on something else, this isn't working, I still want to kill myself. And so she'd put me on something different, and it was just this cycle until one day she was like, you need to stop calling me or I'm gonna have you committed. She was like, I cannot keep putting you on different medications. She said, just have your baby, and once you have your baby, everything will be better. So I did, I believed her, and after I had my baby, things just kind of got worse. I went to the hospital to be induced. I was in labor for 2 days. When it finally came time for me to deliver my daughter, she actually got stuck inside of me. She got stuck behind my pelvic bone.
Wow. A lot of witchcraft activities here in Indonesia. We even have Indonesian voodoo called santet.
At the top, take the boots out. Alright, get it in.
Can an inmate that's not in a gang get into a fight with an inmate that's in a gang in prison? Let's get into this. Now, first off, shout out to Jumpsuit Pablo. He's one of my favorite creators on here. I tagged him below. My page has been getting a lot of inspiration from his lately. Now, in his video, he said it is possible for a person that's not affiliated to get into a fight with somebody that's affiliated. And yes, for the most part, that's true in a lot of institutions. But it all really just boils down to what that gang's policies is and procedures. When I was locked up at USP at the time, the gang I was involved with, they didn't let you run one-on-ones. Matter of fact, if one of them jumped, all of them would jump. After about 2 years in prison, I was forced to program like this. So my first 2 years in prison was crucial. But I had to do what I was told, and that's facts.
Why do people glorify prison life so much? Never understood that.
First experience interacting with these traffickers at all. He's showing us pictures of these girls and he's laughing and talking about the things that we can do, and we're having to laugh and high five and hug, and I just remember like playing that role as I'm like talking, and then all of a sudden he's talking to someone else and I noticed like the blood drain out of my face, and like I could tell I had gotten like really serious because I'm like looking at this guy like, yeah, I want to strangle you right now, and I had to immediately like get that back, like, hey, stay in character, this is what we're doing, right? This is why we're here. And one of the guys turned to me and said, so how was your first interaction? Like, how do you feel? And I was like, I'm exhausted, physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted, just like having to get into that role.
Angels don't come in white with wings. These guys are real angels.
Since everybody on the internet is obsessed with gnomes now, let's talk about the time that a guy was given what appears to be a mummified gnome or leprechaun, as an inheritance from his great-grandmother. There were actually 2 of these things in the box, and as you can tell, this thing looks terrifying, and if it was alive at any point, it's been dead for a while. Here's the second one. It kind of looks like Satan or a demon, but I also think it kind of looks like that lady who tried to sue me one time. Now, many people are saying that these are fake, but what I don't get is what kind of grandmother pulls this kind of a prank on her grandchildren by making these super creepy dolls and then telling nobody about them, and then they just find it in their attic 60 years later. This reminds me of the time that these other mummified gnomes were found in Scandinavia in 1960, whom were said to have been captured by a witch in the 1700s, and she killed one of them because they went in her house. But when you do that, it's like a bad omen, and once one of these guys knows what's going on, they all know, and they like swarmed her house or something. If you ask me, I think little people are real. I mean, they've been documented since the early Roman Empire, and there are stories of little people going from Europe to Mexico for thousands of years. I think this is another case of a different type of creature that gets attacked in the Middle Ages by all of our empires, and they end up having to go into hiding, and they've been so good at it for the past hundreds of years that nobody even sees them anymore. Perhaps they packed up and went beyond the ice wall to go live a peaceful life on a different continent or island. But what do you guys think? Are gnomes real, or are they fiction?
I become so open-minded by the lies that have been told that I would believe this to be real.
Breaking news, this teacher is going viral for what her 8th graders have said to her. And it's pretty much summing up why teachers are quitting. Check this out.
Things that my 8th graders have said to me. Are you in therapy? You seem like the type. You look like my grandpa's couch. Thank you. Now that the ops are gone, we can yap. A student got the answer right and yelled, "Yeah, I felt that one in my nuggets." Your pants look like trash bags sewn together. Ha ha, trash bag pants. I don't get why you write so much on my rough draft. I'm not reading all that, bruh, for real, for real. Miss Dugan, the toilet paper in this school sucks. I just got dookie on my hand. Fat ass alert. That one ended up being about me. I was eating some crackers. Miss Dugan, you don't want to know what I say about you behind your back or you'd quit your job. And finally, how does it feel to be the only unmarried teacher in this school?
Whoa.
Thank you.
And do you guys want to know the sad thing about this video? That people were leaving comments under her video thinking that this was just funny. But if you think about this for 2 seconds, this isn't funny at all. This is literally the collapse of our society. Do you think kids around the world are disrespectful to their teachers like this here in America?
No, not here.
Like, could you imagine if, like, we as kids, like back in the 90s and the early 2000s, said some of this stuff to her, what would have happened to us? There is just straight up no respect anymore for teachers. And this is why teachers are quitting. You can just tell it in her face that she's just absolutely done. She's done getting treated like a joke. And the sad thing is, most people become teachers because they want to help kids. But you can only help people and teach people who want to be helped and taught. Most people think schooling these days is pointless. And so us teachers are stressing, creating curriculum, grading, doing all this stuff just to be treated like this. And the fact of the matter is it's not worth our mental health and we do not get paid enough. And this is why teachers are leaving in droves. Because discipline is gone, self-accountability is gone, and these students know it. So they feel that they can say or do whatever they want to teachers, and it's just downright deplorable. Do you think if she could go back in time 10 years, do you think she would choose to be a teacher? My answer would probably be no. I mean, who would want to go to a job every single day where you know you're going to get harassed and made fun of every single day?
Yeah.
And I know she's probably making these videos as some sort of coping mechanism, but the fact of the matter is she shouldn't even happen to be going through this at all. If schools would actually do their job and do this thing called discipline and have self-accountability back. But everyone wants to vilify the teacher, everyone wants to blame the teacher. Keep that up and there's going to be no teachers left. I'm sorry you have to go through this, ma'am, but let me know your guys' thoughts. Love, peace, and taco grease.
It's not funny at all. Miss Dugan, you are beautiful. They are a reflection of their parents. If they did that here in Indonesia, they would be disciplined immediately, maybe expelled too.
Didn't think I'd forgotten about our little island, did you? Oh, no name unless you know it. None of the apps like it. You can't even find it or Prince Edward Island. Need to Marion Island and like Bouvet. Poof, from 2017 to 2022. On this app, there's a weather marker, so you can see what the temperature is by Bouvet Island. Oh, what's this marker? Remove me, version 3. Dev test spot. Another dev test spot. Remove me 22. I hope they're not doing testing by our island. By the way, this report from the US Army Research Center is investigating gravity anomalies by Marion Island and Bouvet Island. I'm sure I'm not the only one missing the blob. I guess it was just a glitch. Oh, by the way, venomous snakes have been washing up on the shores of South Africa.
What?
Apparently most uncommon. They say strong sea currents are pushing them into colder waters. Even 500 turtle hatchlings also washed up. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. See you in the comments. Take care.
2011, in the Yana Indigirka lowland in Siberia, a tribe discovered the mummified remains of a steppe bison. The bison was remarkably intact. It had a complete heart, brain, and digestive system. Some of its organs have shrunk over time, but its blood vessels are in near perfect condition. The lack of fat around the bison abdomen suggests the animal died of starvation. This is the most complete steppe bison ever to be found, and has allowed researchers to extensively study its brain, heart, and blood vessels, despite it being well over 9,000 years old. In 2022, researchers in Russia completed a necropsy on an 8,000-year-old steppe bison that is so well preserved, they believe it could be cloned using intact chromosomes extracted from the bison's skin, muscle, and wool. And since we know so much about bovid breeding, because it's something we've been doing with cows for generational time to make sure that we had really good meat to eat, this could become a reality in the not too distant future.
I would rather for humans to put more effort into saving those, that are endangered now.
My name is Zach McLeod-Pinsent. I am 25 years old and I don't own or wear any modern clothing. And people might go, oh, that's strange. It is strange. If I enjoy what I'm doing, then why change?
Yeah. I like it. There you go.
I've never felt more happy with just wearing what I'm wearing as a form of self-expression, It's never been an attention thing anyway, although here I am on the BBC. I think it's always that really important thing to just believe in yourself, which sounds like a ridiculous thing and is said too much, but it's worth it sometimes.
Nice.
I've never had the wish to dress normally. I did that for so many years, and I hated it. So what's the point of returning, once evolved? I remember ceremoniously burning my last pair of jeans at the age of 14. Maybe somewhere in the back of a drawer that I'm not using is probably a pair of Marks & Spencer's underwear. Wearing what I wear, it makes you feel 10 feet high. You know, it's spectacular. It's a huge confidence builder. You fight so hard, generally externally, because you're always ready for it. It's whether everyone else is. Once you get past that point and you can finally do it, you'd never dream of going back. You occasionally might get the odd comment from a drunk person at 3 in the morning, but that's a drunk person at 3 in the morning. But no, I think generally people are really, really appreciative and interested, and they might think it's a bit odd, but so what? I run a business, Lord knows how, where I make men and women's bespoke clothing from the 1660s to the 1920s, specialising in the Georgian and Regency period. One of my New York clients would just like a 18th century banyan to wear around his home. Why not? Men's fashion, there isn't enough flamboyance and colour. Clothes are social history. So what I get from it is that bringing it alive and making people really happy. Seeing the joy in someone's face when they've got something which is made for them for maybe the first time in their life and it fits them and they're happy in it. There's no better feeling.
You look awesome, man, and handsome. No Diddy. Do what you love.
I was bitten by a snake. With no one to help me, I went to the doctor only after the poison had spread throughout my body. It didn't take long for me to die. This time, my family came back because I spent 3 days in the morgue, which was longer than I had ever been dead before. This time, many people, including his family, believed that he was truly dead. They gathered again and planned his burial. However, the day they went to retrieve his body from the hospital became the most horrifying day of their lives. His old friend recalls being among those who went to pick up the body that day. Often when I think about what happened that day, I feel scared again. We all thought it was over since it had been 3 days. We went to the morgue to bring him for burial, but we found him looking alive. Some of us were in shock because it was hard to believe, but we saw it with our own eyes. It didn't stop there. Months later, he fell into a toilet pit and was taken out dead, but then he got up again. Everyone ran away in fear, and now, whenever we see him, we run because we can't believe he's human. This was the 5th time this man had died but come back to life. In the area where he lives, people started treating him as a sorcerer, while others believed he was under God's protection. However, most people began to see him as a serious problem. Even the last time, it was the locals who tried to end his life. I continued to live, but I felt that there was something wrong with my life. Every time I died and came back, my body felt very strange. Finally, people came to my house, claiming I was a great witch in our area, and set the house on fire. Trapped inside, I had no way to escape. The smoke made it impossible to breathe, and though some good people came to help, they found me dead. I woke up again in the hospital morgue. By this time, my brothers and others started saying that I was no ordinary person and could not die unless God willed it. One thing that might explain my situation is a family story I heard. My grandfather once died and came back to life.
His story is a sign that he is given chances to correct his sins and praise God.
People don't know that the world's most expensive sports venue does not have air conditioning. SoFi Stadium, which cost $5 billion to build, is located in Inglewood, California, and is the most expensive stadium in the world. Opened in 2020, it serves as the home for both the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers, with a seating capacity of 70,240. Despite its impressive construction, the stadium does not have air conditioning. Instead, it relies on ocean breezes to cool the
No.
venue. Due to its proximity to Los Angeles Airport, just 3 miles away, the Federal Aviation Administration was concerned about potential hazards to air navigation. As a result, a significant portion of the stadium is built in an open pit, with the field situated 100 feet below ground level. Super Bowl LVI, held at SoFi Stadium, was dubbed the hottest Super Bowl ever. Players had to rely on portable air conditioners and cooling sprays, making it hard to imagine competing in such conditions. SoFi pays $30 million annually for the naming rights to the stadium, setting a record for stadium naming rights. But why not install air conditioning for the fan?
If you've been there, please share your experience in the comment.
People want to know why my mom got brain cancer. And there are probably a lot of reasons why, but I want to talk about the two physical main reasons I believe that she got brain cancer. Because there's a common misconception that cancer all comes from parasites, and that's not true. According to mom's scans, they scanned her whole body, all of her toxicity levels. Mom had the highest radiation levels that this holistic center had ever seen in person. It looks like she has been living in Chernobyl for the last 5 years. Why did she have such high radiation levels? Well, she uses her phone and she uses her iPad, and she's had terrible insomnia for many years now. And for the last 5 years since she's had that iPad, she has slept with the iPad close to her head. And often the iPad was plugged in charging. When you have your devices charging, they emit 100 times more radiation than when they're not. This is why it's so important to not charge any of your devices in your bedrooms at night, so you don't expose yourself to toxic radiation levels. Also, mom had mercury fillings, and the mercury fillings were leaking toxins into her body, because your teeth are connected to your brain, and she had each filling on the top side of either side of her mouth. And the worst mercury filling that was leaching the most was on the same side that the tumor had started growing on. And we had to go to a holistic doctor to remove these mercury fillings. They were so life-threatening, and even the removal of the mercury fillings is life-threatening. The dentist had to do it in a special way so the fumes from the mercury didn't seep into her nasal cavity or go down her mouth. That's why it's so important for you to take out any mercury fillings as soon as you can.
I don't have any feelings, but next month I will do teeth implants, 2 of those. Is it okay? Let me know in the comment.
2 natural painkillers that you need to know about. I'm Christian Dropo. I'm a stem cell scientist and herbalist. If you need to cut the pain anywhere on the surface of your body or a little bit deeper, but not like in your joint, then you want to use sassafras oil. So you take sassafras oil, you apply it on your skin, and then it really cuts the pain on the surface and, a few layers below. Now, if you want to deal with pain that is a little bit deeper, like joint pain, back pain, I discovered something years ago that is just absolutely fascinating. I started to share it with some of my friends, and then they came back with the exact same comment. So before I tell you, here's the story that happened to me. I had back pain. I got up one morning and it was just there. And I took a tea of that plant, and then I realized when I went to bed at the end of the day, I had completely forgotten about my back pain. That plant is blue butterfly pea, the flower. You use the flower just like a tea. Boil water, pour that on the flower, let it sit for maybe 10-15 minutes, drink that, and not only it helps your pain, but it also helps blood circulation in your brain, good for cognitive function. It's an amazing flower.
I want to try it. I have neck pain, which is why you see me twitching a lot. I refuse to take any painkillers and instead use a balm like Bengay called Hot and Cream.
All right, guys, disturbing fact of the day. Scientists that study cockroaches often go on to develop cockroach allergies because their bodies become sensitized over time to the allergens in cockroaches. Now, while that may be gross, that's not the disturbing part. The disturbing part is what they also go on to develop an allergy to, which is ground coffee. Now, this isn't because of the coffee itself, it's that pre-ground coffee is not uncommonly contaminated with insect parts due to infestations during storage and processing. Now, this isn't enough to keep me from having my morning cup, but gives you something to think about.
Joe Biden might be coming to an end, and this is an actual warning that our entire country may soon no longer exist anymore. People were horrified after the Trump and Biden debate to see the dire condition Biden is actually in, and many are terrified, saying if Biden does serve another term, all of our lives are at risk. Biden was struggling to get out basic thoughts, not having the ability to form complete sentences, and just randomly stopped talking and stared into the distance mid-question. And when asked about the national debt, he started answering and then changed the subject, froze, forgot what he was talking about, and ended his answer mid-sentence. To even Biden incoherently mumbling several of his answers, so much so that Trump wasn't even able to rebuttal, as Trump had no idea what was said.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
With a haunting video showing Biden needing help just to walk a few feet, showing him getting help going down 3 steps on the stage. Many of Biden's Democratic supporters who had shown extreme support, like Van Jones, have said that Biden has failed to restore the voters' confidence and needs to step down, to even his VP saying she cannot deny that this was a poor debate. Many argue and say Biden has helped lower medical costs and open more jobs, but will that be enough to keep him in office?
So, okay, you need Biden to win or Trump? I'm confused. Let me know in the comment.
Well. First of all, I love you.
I like her voice.
Second of all, I am so excited. I have not even brushed my hair. I'm still kind of chilling Saturday morning, and there's been an earthquake on Bouvet Island. Let's take a look. There should only be minor seismic activity, but here we are with a 5.6 at a depth of a somewhat mysterious 10 kilometers, which USGS says is when they don't know the depth. We know that Bouvet Island was the location of Alien versus Predator, but I bet you didn't know this.
Bovatoya Island, but it's not on the ice. It's 2,000 feet below it.
Yes, that was Meg 2. They have all the juicy intel.
Not the only one with a satellite over Antarctica.
Always the mysteries in Antarctica, even in 1957 with this unusual ionospheric disturbance. But back to Bouvet. I have been studying everything about this island, and I'm definitely not the only one. Since a mysterious South Atlantic blob anomaly showed up nearby, it hasn't erupted for 2,000 years, which does make it sort of strange that this website does quite frequent updates on the island. It says it has a meteorological station and studies foraging strategies. It's uninhabited. Not much for land use, except other. Perhaps foraging. It's got exports, which is peculiar since it's uninhabited. And the imports include aluminum structures. Small print, defense is the responsibility of Norway. Well, I hope they don't have an issue because it's a third way round the world to Oslo. Here's just a little quick hi to our friendly neighborhood blob. Here's a scientific article showing how Bouvet sits near the fault lines. It has rare earth elements, as if we ever doubted, and an EU anomaly. Well, since I'm not a scientist, I had to look that up. It's europium, and it's used for rods in nuclear reactors and lasers.
I'm not the only one with a satellite over Antarctica.
Funny you should mention, because followers know that I love the TV show Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. They use a laser to try and agitate UAPs.
Where we've detected all kinds of radiation spikes and obtained evidence of an invisible anomaly that has deflected other lasers and GPS devices in the past.
Well, at the South Pole Research Station, they use the same laser, but it's for weather testing and measurements.
But it's not on the ice. It's 2,000 feet below it.
I'll see you in the comments. Take care.
I cannot help thinking that if it wasn't for TikTok, there would only be a handful of people that even knew this happened. Alright, folks, I'm going to end our video with this coming clip. Be kind to each other. If you haven't subscribed, please do. There's a free gift below. And if you want to buy me coffee or support me through Patreon, the links are also in the description below. Thank you for watching. Have a prosperous day and God bless.
The woman in Nando's that served me today, yeah? She was flirting with me hard today. Proper flirting.
What?
Yeah.
Daniel, what girl?
No, it was a new girl. It was a new girl. Ava, 26, from West London. Her name was.
Babe, are you being serious? How the hell have you gathered all that information from her? Obviously you were flirting back. So you asked her her age, her name, where she lives. Are you alright in the
I didn't really ask her. She was kind of just saying it. She offered me a 40% discount. She said, take my number anytime. I can give a discount.
Why would you do that? Taking numbers, Daniel, really?
Babe, 40%.
Over discount, Daniel?
Yeah, babe, next time we go, just you go sit down. I'll be like, that's my mate.
Oh, Daniel, you're taking a mick.
How much? Oh, no
Are you
way.
being serious? You're really going to walk around at Nando's for 40% saying I'm your mate? Matter of fact, give me your phone.
If you want to pay full whack, you can pay full whack. Don't ruin my discount.
No, Daniel, you've gone too far with it about name, age, where she lives. What have you saved the number as? Because I'm ringing it right now.
Ava Nando's discount.
I'm not
today.
interested. We'll see about Ava and Nando's. Babe, very funny.
Ava, what's happening, Guilt?
That's my number, you idiot.